This story is titled, My Husband Secretly Sold My Jewelry Collection While I Was Visiting My Family. When I returned home, he told me with a smug expression, I made a major business move while you were away. Now he's facing fraud charges, and I'm finally free. Hi everyone! Before we dive in, a quick favor. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and make sure you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. Hey everyone. So I need to vent because this thing I've been dealing with is just, I don't even have the words. I've always thought I had my life somewhat together. You know, nothing too crazy, steady marriage, a decent job, friends I can count on. But last week my husband decided to throw all that into question with this ridiculous stunt. I don't even know what's real anymore. Let me just lay it out, and you can tell me if I'm losing my mind here. So I'd been away for a few days visiting my family. My mom wasn't feeling great, and since I hadn't seen her in a while, I figured it'd be nice to spend some time with her. My husband, Travis, didn't come because he said he had work stuff to handle, which is pretty normal for him. I didn't think much of it because Travis has always been a guy with big dreams, and I mean big. He's the kind of person who can spend an entire afternoon convincing you that his latest idea is the next big thing. Bethany, this is it. This is going to change everything, he'd say, with that confident grin of his. And honestly, I used to love that about him. He was ambitious, driven, and full of ideas. But with Travis, those big ideas didn't always come with big follow-through. He'd dive headfirst into something, throw everything he had into it, and then, when it didn't pan out the way he wanted, he'd move on to the next brilliant plan. I can't even count the number of projects he's started and abandoned. There was the app he wanted to build, the online store he was sure would go viral, and that time he wanted to flip houses even though we didn't have the money to buy one, let alone renovate it. Anyway, fast forward to when I get back. I walk through the door, dragging my suitcase behind me, and there's Travis, sprawled on the couch like he's king of the world, with a grin on his face. The kind that says, I just pulled off the best thing ever, and he wastes no time in telling me, I made a major business move while you were gone. At first, I thought maybe he got a promotion or closed a big deal, and I was ready to be all supportive wife and whatnot. But then he hits me with, I sold your jewelry collection. I froze. My brain just stopped working for a second, because I couldn't process what he'd just said. My jewelry collection? The one I've been building for years? The pieces that mean everything to me? And not to mention the sheer value of it. Those weren't cheap trinkets. My collection was worth thousands. Some of the pieces had been appraised for insurance purposes, and I knew for a fact that a single item could cover a month's mortgage. I asked him to repeat himself, hoping I'd misheard, but no. He doubled down like he'd just discovered the secret to eternal life. Bethany, it's brilliant. I sold every piece, and it funded my new business venture. You're going to thank me when this takes off. I stood there, stunned. My jewelry wasn't just some random trinkets you grab off a rack. It was my collection, built over years with meaning behind every piece. Some were heirlooms from my mom and grandma. Others were rewards to myself, like the gold necklace I bought after landing my first real job, or the diamond bracelet my mom wore on her wedding day. Every single one held a memory, a story. And now, according to Travis, they were gone. When I finally managed to speak, my words came sharp. What gives you the right to sell something that isn't yours? You didn't even ask me. Do you have any idea how much that collection was worth? Those weren't just sentimental, they were worth thousands of dollars, Travis. Pieces I worked for, saved for, cherished. He brushed off my words like I just complained about the weather. Oh, come on, Bethany. It's not like you even wore half of it. It was just sitting there collecting dust. Now it's actually doing something productive. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Travis, that wasn't your call to make. That collection was mine. You had no right to touch it, let alone sell it. I demanded. Where is it, Travis? Who did you sell it to? Tell me right now. My voice shook as I struggled to keep from screaming, but he didn't even look up from his phone. It's gone, Bethany. Sold. Why do you even care so much? It's not like it was doing anything useful sitting in a drawer. That was it. Useful? You think you've done something noble here? I snapped. You've stolen from me, Travis. This isn't just about some jewelry. It's about trust. How could you do this and think I wouldn't care? He finally looked at me, but not with remorse. Instead, there was that infuriating smugness, like he was still convinced he'd done the right thing. Bethany, this is bigger than your attachment to shiny objects. I used them to create an opportunity, one that benefits both of us. You're unbelievable, I spat. You stole from me, and now you're trying to justify it. I'm not asking for an explanation, Travis. I'm demanding the truth. Where is my jewelry? But he just stood there, unmoved. It doesn't matter where it is. It's gone. You don't need to know the details. What matters is what I'm building. His refusal to answer made my stomach twist. The audacity, the arrogance. It was like I was staring at a stranger. You don't get to decide what matters, Travis, I said, my voice colder now. You don't get to take what isn't yours and hide behind excuses. I will find out where my jewelry is, and you will be held accountable. And with that, I walked out of the room, leaving him with his delusion. But one thing was clear. I wasn't letting this go. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept staring at the empty spot in my dresser where my jewelry box used to be. I wanted to scream, cry, and destroy the house, all at the same time. But then, I remembered something. A few months ago, there had been a string of burglaries in our neighborhood, and I'd gotten paranoid about my valuables. I'd bought these little tracking devices online, tiny things that you could hide in jewelry clasps or on the back of a pendant. At the time, it felt like overkill, but now it felt like a stroke of genius. I got out of bed and grabbed my phone, opening the app that came with the trackers. I wasn't expecting much. I figured the devices might be dead or out of range by now. But when the screen loaded, I was totally shocked. There they were, little red dots on a map, showing the exact locations of my pieces. One of the dots was at a consignment shop downtown. Another had already made its way to some industrial warehouse across the city. One was moving, like actively changing locations as I watched. I had that satisfaction. Travis thought he'd gotten away with this, but he had no idea what I'd done. I spent the rest of the night scrolling through the app, watching as my jewelry traveled from place to place. Each piece felt like a breadcrumb leading me to the truth. By the time the sun came up, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let Travis get away with this. But I also knew I couldn't just blow up on him without a plan. He's the kind of person who talks circles around you until you start questioning your own sanity. If I was going to confront him, I needed to have all my ducks in a row. So I called my best friend, Jessica. She's the kind of person who doesn't sugarcoat anything, and I needed someone to give it to me straight. Bethany, Jessica said, this guy's got more red flags than a theme park. I'm telling you, the cops aren't going to stop at the jewelry. They're going to dig up everything. I just felt both validated and overwhelmed. Do you really think I need to involve the cops, though? I mean, it's not like he robbed a bank. He's just Travis. Jessica shot me a look. Girl, stop. He didn't just sell some random junk from the garage. He stole your jewelry, your heirlooms, and he did it behind your back. That's not a mistake. That's a calculated move, and I guarantee you it's only the tip of the iceberg. I knew she was right. As much as I wanted to handle this on my own, the situation was way bigger than me. Travis didn't just cross a line. He bulldozed right over it. If I let this slide, who knows what he'd try to pull next. I spent the rest of the morning gathering everything I could. Screenshots of the tracking app, receipts for the jewelry, even photos of me wearing the pieces at different events. And I walked into the police station. I explained every detail to the offices. And when I showed him the tracking app, he said, "This is good evidence," he said, nodding. "We'll start looking into it right away." After leaving the police station, I kept staring at the map on my phone. Those little red dots weren't just tracking my jewelry. They were showing me exactly how far Travis had gone behind my back. It wasn't just about the money or the theft anymore. It was about trust, or really, the complete lack of it. And I wasn't sure I'd ever get that back. The rest of the day, I couldn't focus on anything except the app, refreshing it constantly to see if anything changed. One of the dots had stopped at a warehouse in the industrial district, while another was now sitting at some boutique on the other side of town. I felt like I was in a real-life detective movie, except the person I was tracking wasn't some stranger. It was my husband. When Travis got home that evening, I was exhausted. Not physically, but emotionally. I'd spent hours going over everything in my head, trying to figure out how someone I'd spent years with could do something like this. When I heard his car pull into the driveway, I took a deep breath and braced myself. This wasn't going to be pretty. As soon as he walked in, I knew he could tell something was up. I didn't even bother with small talk. "We need to talk," I said, standing in the middle of the living room like I was guarding something. He smirked. That same stupid smirk he'd had when he told me about the jewelry. "What's with the attitude? You're still mad about the jewelry, aren't you?" "I told you, Bethany, it's for the greater good." Yeah, I said. "Travis, you stole from me. You sold my jewelry without asking, without even telling me, and now you're acting like you did me a favor?" He flopped onto the couch, like we were having a petty argument about who forgot to do the dishes. "You're being so dramatic," he said. "It's not like you wear them every day. I turned something useless into an investment. You'll thank me when this takes off." And that's when I lost it. I slammed my phone down on the coffee table so hard he actually flinched. "You think I don't know what you did?" I snapped. "Do you think I'm that stupid, Travis? Because guess what? I've been tracking every single piece you sold. I know exactly where they are." His face went pale for a split second, but then he tried to cover it up with a laugh. "Tracking? What are you even talking about?" I leaned in closer, You didn't know, did you? Well, babe, months ago, I installed trackers on my most valuable pieces for security, and now I've got proof that you stole them. So don't sit there and act like this is no big deal. For the first time, Travis looked genuinely nervous. His hands fidgeted, and he avoided eye contact. Bethany, listen. He shifted completely. I didn't mean for it to go this far. No, I cut him off. Don't you dare try to spin this. You knew exactly what you were doing. You didn't care about me or how much those pieces meant to me. You only cared about your stupid business empire. He stood up then, trying to tower over me like that would somehow make me back down. I did this for us, he said, his voice rising. I'm building something that's going to benefit both of us in the long run. Why can't you see that? Because it's not about us, Travis, I shouted back. It's never been about us. It's always about you. Your ambitions, your plans, your needs. And now you've crossed a line you can't uncross. We stared at each other in silence for a moment. I could see the wheels turning in his head as he tried to figure out his next move. Finally, he sighed and said, Fine. If you want your stupid jewelry back, I'll figure it out. But you need to stop acting like I committed some crime. Oh, I'm sorry, Travis, I shot back. Selling someone's belongings without their consent isn't a crime now? Maybe you should tell that to the police since they're already investigating. That got him off guard. You went to the cops? He asked. Of course I did, I said. What did you think was going to happen? That I'd just sit here and let you get away with it? He looked mad, and for a moment, I thought he might yell. But instead, he just shook his head and muttered, You're making a huge mistake, Bethany. If you think this is going to end well for you, you've got another thing coming. I didn't respond. I was too angry, too hurt, and honestly, too tired to argue anymore. I just turned and walked away, leaving him standing in the living room with whatever thoughts were running through his head. That night, I locked myself in the bedroom and started going through the photos and receipts I'd gathered earlier. I wanted to make sure I had everything in order, just in case Travis tried to pull something. Part of me hoped that maybe, just maybe, he'd realize how badly he'd screwed up and try to fix things. But deep down, I knew better. Travis wasn't the type to admit he was wrong, no matter how obvious it was. And yeah, this is what I've been dealing with lately. Do you think I overreacted by going to the police? At that moment, it just felt like the only option I had. Honestly, I feel deeply hurt. It's not just about the jewelry, but the betrayal and the fact that he doesn't even see how wrong he is. I'll keep you guys updated if he doesn't find that I'm posting in here. Update 1. Hey guys, here's an update because things have gotten into unexpected roads since my last post. The day after I confronted him, things felt off. He was quieter than usual, which wasn't like him at all. Normally, even when he was in trouble, he'd talk his way around it, throw out excuses, or turn the blame on me somehow. But this time, he didn't even try. Instead, he left the house early without saying much. He didn't mention where he was going or when he'd be back, just grabbed his keys and walked out. That should have been my first red flag. I spent the morning refreshing my tracking app, hoping for updates from the officer. It was slow progress, but they were doing their job. One of the rings was still at the consignment shop downtown, and 2 other items had been tracked to a warehouse. The officer said they'd reached out to the businesses involved and were working on getting the pieces back. I thought that would bring me some peace of mind, but honestly, it just made me angrier. Every time I saw one of those dots on the map, it reminded me of how little Travis thought of me, of how easy it was for him to sell my things, like they were just meaningless objects gathering dust. By midday, I couldn't sit around anymore. My best friend Jessica texted me to check in, and I ended up spilling the whole story in a long, messy rant. Her response was immediate. He's hiding something bigger. You know that, right? I didn't want to believe it. I mean, how much worse could it get? But deep down, I knew she was probably right. Travis wasn't just a guy who made a bad decision. He was a guy who thought the rules didn't apply to him. And if he was capable of selling my jewelry behind my back, what else had he been hiding? That afternoon, I got a call from the officer. Bethany, we've recovered the sapphire ring from the consignment shop and one of the bracelets from the warehouse, he said. But there's something else you should know. I asked for clarification. He said, we've started looking into your husband's financial records, and there are some discrepancies. Large sums of money being moved between accounts that don't make sense. I sat down hard on the couch, my head spinning. What kind of discrepancies? Potential fraud, he explained. It looks like he's been funneling money into separate accounts, some tied to his business, and others under different names. We're still investigating, but this could be bigger than we initially thought. Fraud, separate accounts, different names. My mind couldn't process it all at once. This wasn't just about my jewelry anymore. This was about Travis building his so-called empire on lies and deception. Am I in trouble? I asked. Not at this point, the officer reassured me. But you'll want to keep your finances separate moving forward. If you have any joint accounts, consider consulting a lawyer to protect yourself. As soon as I hung up, I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Things are getting worse than I anticipated. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. It feels like things are getting fractured. What do you think I should do next? Should I even continue in this relationship anyway? Update 2. Hey again. In my last post, most of you in the comments suggested that I confront him. So I did, but it didn't lead anywhere. Instead, things got messier. How it went. When Travis came home the other evening, I was ready for him. I'd spent the entire afternoon gathering every piece of financial information I could find. Bank statements, receipts, anything that might give me a clearer picture of what he'd been up to. I didn't know how much of it would make sense, but I figured it was better to be overprepared. He walked in, saw me sitting at the kitchen table with stacks of papers, and immediately looked defensive. "What's all this?" he asked. "Sit down," I said. "We need to talk." "Again?" he muttered, but he sat anyway, folding his arms like a teenager caught sneaking out. I didn't waste time. "The police are looking into your finances," I said, watching his reaction carefully. "They think there's fraud involved. Accounts under different names, money moving around without explanation. Do you want to tell me what's going on?" For a second, he looked like he might deny it, but then he smirked. This cold, calculated smirk. "So now you're spying on me too? That's rich." "Don't!" I said sharply. "Don't try to turn this on me. You did this, Travis. You sold my jewelry, and now the police are finding even more. So tell me the truth. What's really going on?" He leaned back in his chair. "You wouldn't understand. This is business, Bethany. Big moves require risks, and sometimes those risks don't look pretty." I stared at him, baffled with the audacity. "You call stealing from me a risk? You call fraud a risk? Travis, this isn't just unethical, it's illegal." His face darkened. "You don't get it, do you? Everything I'm doing is for us, for our future. You're so focused on your little trinkets that you can't see the bigger picture." I slammed my hand on the table. "Don't you dare try to justify this. You didn't do this for us. You did this for you. You're selfish, Travis. You always have been. But I was too blind to see it." He stood up yelling, "You think you're so righteous, don't you? Going to the cops, digging through my business. You're sabotaging everything I've built. Built on lies," I shot back. "If you think I'm just going to sit here and let you ruin everything, you're wrong. I'm not the naive little wife you think I am." At that moment, I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or realization. But it was gone as quickly as it came. He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. That night, I called Jessica and told her everything. The fraud, the confrontation, the fact that Travis seemed more angry than remorseful. "What do I do?" I asked her. She said firmly, "First, get a lawyer. This is bigger than just getting your jewelry back, Bethany. You need to protect yourself, financially and legally." I hated that she was right, and that this was where my marriage had ended up. But I couldn't ignore the reality anymore. Travis wasn't just reckless, he was dangerous. And if I didn't take action, I'd be the one left cleaning up his mess. The next morning, I made an appointment with a lawyer Jessica recommended. As I sat in her office explaining everything, she said, "You're doing the right thing," she said. "We'll start by securing your personal assets and filing for separation. The sooner you distance yourself financially, the better." After that meeting with the lawyer, I knew I'd taken the first real step toward reclaiming my life. For so long, I'd let Travis make decisions, bulldoze over my boundaries, and justify his selfishness under the guise of ambition. But this time, I was done playing along. I was going to fight for myself, something I should have done a long time ago. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started going through every financial document I could find. Bank statements, credit card bills, even old receipts. I was determined to untangle myself from whatever web Travis had spun. I didn't trust him anymore, not with my things, not with my money, and definitely not with my future. I spent hours combing through everything, making a list of all our joint accounts and anything with his name attached to it. It was overwhelming, to say the least. There were charges I didn't recognize, transfers that didn't make sense, and entire accounts I didn't even know existed. By the time I was done, it was late, but Travis still wasn't home. I wasn't surprised. After our fight the night before, he'd been avoiding me like the plague. I wasn't complaining. I needed the space to figure out my next move. The next morning, I scheduled a bank appointment to separate my finances from Travis's, knowing I had to act quickly to protect myself. At the bank, I requested to remove my name from joint accounts and secure my personal assets, despite feeling out of my depth. The clerk explained they'd need documentation of my lawyer's separation filing to freeze the joint accounts and protect my funds. Though the idea of freezing accounts made me nervous about Travis's reaction, I reminded myself this was about safeguarding my future. As I left the bank, I got a text from Jessica asking, "How's it going? Any updates?" I filled her in on what I'd been doing, and she responded almost immediately. Proud of you. This isn't easy, but you're handling it like a boss. Her words gave me a small boost of confidence. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me going. That's it for today's update. I'm honestly grateful for Jessica standing by my side since I can't tell my parents about all this, because they will only get worried and not help much. I'm mostly worried about my jewelry, because after all this, I want at least to get my jewelry back. Don't you think? Update 3. Okay guys, guess what? I got some news about my jewelry. Do you remember the last call with Jess? Well, later that day after I posted that update, I got another call from the officer handling the case. Bethany, we've recovered more items from your collection, he said. A necklace and a pair of earrings were traced to a private auction house. The auctioneer has agreed to return them once we confirm ownership. That brought tears to my eyes. For weeks, it had felt like everything I cared about was slipping through my fingers. But now, little by little, things were starting to come back. Thank you, I replied. I can't tell you how much this means to me. There's more, he continued. We've uncovered additional financial discrepancies tied to your husband's business. It appears he's been using funds from the sale of your jewelry to cover other debts. The investigation is expanding. For me, it was validation that I wasn't crazy. Travis really was hiding things. However, it also meant the situation was even messier than I'd thought. That evening, Travis came home, and I could tell right away he was in a mood. He slammed his keys on the counter and gave me a look that was half angry, half defeated. What did you do at the bank? He demanded. I didn't flinch. I'm separating my finances, I said plainly. You've left me no choice. He laughed bitterly. No choice? You're acting like I've committed some heinous crime. All I did was make a business move, Bethany. One that's going to pay off for both of us if you just stop fighting me on it. I shot back. You mean fraud? Because that's what the police are calling it. And if you think I'm going to stand by and let you drag me down with you, you're delusional. His face twisted into something ugly. I can't decide whether it's anger, fear, or desperation, but all rolled into one. You've been talking to the cops? He hissed. You really want to destroy everything I've worked for, don't you? You destroyed it yourself, Travis, I said firmly. The second you decided my things were yours to sell. The second you started lying and hiding money. You did this, not me. For a moment, he looked like he might argue, but then he just stormed out of the room. I stood there, wondering how the hell we'd gotten to this point. A few hours later, he texted me saying, "You'll regret this." I will be lying if I said I wasn't afraid, but I also knew that the law was on my side. The next day, my lawyer reviewed my updates and reassured me that separating my finances now was crucial, especially with the investigation likely uncovering more. I also asked her about my jewelry. She confirmed it could likely be recovered if still traceable. That seemed like I wasn't just taking control of my finances or my possessions, I was taking control of my future. Travis had spent years convincing me that his dreams were my dreams, that his success was our success. But now I was starting to see things clearly for the first time. This wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. But he wasn't going down without a fight, and it was clear he was trying to claw his way out of the mess he created. What he didn't realize or refuse to admit was that his every move just tightened the noose. One morning, I woke up to a notification from the bank. Travis had tried to access one of the accounts I'd separated. His attempt was flagged and blocked, thanks to the safeguards my lawyer had helped me put in place. It was a petty move, but it showed me just how desperate he was becoming. The next day, I decided to get ahead of whatever Travis was planning. Since he sent me that, "You'll regret this" text, I went to the bank to triple-check my accounts and confirm he couldn't access anything. The banker reassured me that everything was secure, but I couldn't shake the paranoia. Travis had always been good at finding ways to manipulate a situation to his advantage. That evening, my lawyer called with an update. The DA's office is filing formal charges against Travis for fraud, theft, and tax evasion, she said. This is a major step forward. I felt a mix of relief. What happens next? He'll be served soon, she said. But be prepared. He might lash out when it happens. Just document everything and let me know if he does anything threatening. She didn't have to tell me twice. I forwarded her the text Travis had sent earlier that week. You'll regret this. That's exactly the kind of thing I need to know about, she said. You're doing everything right, Bethany. Keep standing your ground. Finally, a few days later, Travis was officially served. I found out when he called me, his voice venomous. You think you've won, don't you? He spat. You think you can destroy me and walk away clean. I stayed calm. This isn't about winning, Travis. It's about holding you accountable. Accountable, he shouted. You're ruining my life. You don't even see what you've done, do you? I didn't do this, I said evenly. You did. For a moment, there was silence. Then he muttered, This isn't over, and hung up. At this point, I'm done with him. I'm planning to file for divorce because, honestly, how am I supposed to give him another chance after a betrayal like this? It started with selling my jewelry and turned into fraud, then God only knows what he'll pull next. What do you guys think? Final update. Hey everyone, thought of giving you a final update on that mess. I wouldn't say things went great, but at least I stood my ground. So, do you remember Travis's words on that last call? They didn't fill me with fear or make me question myself. If anything, they felt empty, like the last desperate gasp of someone who had already lost everything. And in that silence, I made a decision that felt both inevitable and freeing. I was done. There was no salvaging this, no going back. I needed to move forward, and that meant divorce. The next morning, my lawyer called with an update. Bethany, the divorce is progressing faster than expected, she said. With the charges against Travis and the evidence we've provided, the court is likely to rule in your favor regarding assets and financial separation. Hearing those words solidified my choice. This wasn't just about cutting ties. It was about reclaiming my life. Travis had spent years making me feel small, overlooked, but now, for the first time, I felt like I was taking control. The court hearing came a few weeks later. I walked in feeling a mix of nerves and resolve. Travis was there, of course, looking every bit as smug as he always, but this time, it didn't bother me. His charm, his arrogance, none of it had any power over me anymore. The judge reviewed the evidence, from the police investigation to the financial records. My lawyer laid everything out clearly and confidently, leaving no room for doubt. By the time it was over, the ruling was exactly what I'd hoped for. I was granted a full divorce, with no financial ties to Travis. The remaining pieces of my jewelry were to be returned as soon as they were recovered, and Travis was on the hook for his legal mess, not me. As I walked out of the courtroom, Travis tried to catch up to me. He called my name, his voice softer than I'd expected. Can we talk? I turned to face him, feeling strangely calm. There's nothing left to talk about, Travis. He didn't argue. He just nodded and walked away. Watching him leave, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. This chapter of my life was finally closed. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding. My lawyer helped finalize the separation of assets, and the police recovered the last piece of my jewelry, the diamond bracelet my mom wore on her wedding day. Holding it in my hands, I felt finally relieved. That bracelet wasn't just an object. It was a reminder of my history, my family, and my strength. Getting it back felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that Travis had tried to take away. Jessica came over to celebrate that night, bringing pizza and a stack of cheesy rom-coms. To Bethany, she said, raising her soda can in a toast. The woman who survived a total train wreck of a husband and came out stronger than ever. And I couldn't agree more. And yeah, it's been a few months now, and life looks completely different. My house feels like mine again, a peaceful, safe place instead of a battleground. My jewelry, every piece I got back, is stored safely in a new box. And this time, it's not just a collection, it's a symbol of my perseverance. I'm taking things one day at a time, figuring out what I want my future to look like without Travis or his chaos holding me back. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that people can surprise you, for better or worse. I never thought Travis would betray me the way he did, but I also never thought I'd find the strength to stand up for myself the way I did. It wasn't easy, and there were moments I wanted to give up. But looking back now, I can say without a doubt that it was worth it. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust yourself, trust your instincts, and don't let anyone make you feel like you're powerless, because you're not. If I can get through this, so can you. Thanks for sticking with me, Reddit. Here's to new beginnings.